Good morning, Mr. Barber's Kids. This is the second to last of these vlog videos, since this is the last week of regular school. Seniors, your grades are already in. I'm going to do a final check here this morning, the early hours before dawn, see if anything else got posted after I did the grades around 8 or so last night. Otherwise, your grades are in, and they have been modified as per the district requirements and the guidelines that I sent out to you guys in several different communication methods. Sophomores, you got till Monday. Monday night, Tuesday morning, I will be dealing with that. So, let's get into it. First, there is a rather amusing new conspiracy theory going around that has been kind of getting a pushback because of the coronavirus and the talk of vaccines and all that. So this is an older conspiracy theory that's kind of been revived. It's the idea that the Amish are healthier than other Americans because they don't use vaccines. Now, for those who don't know, the Amish are a group of people primarily in Pennsylvania who are German descendants like myself, but unlike my ancestors, they decided to kind of stay where they are, remain farmers, and in fact, they have a tendency to ignore a lot of modern technology. So they live, not quite like 300 years ago, but they certainly live closer to like 100 years ago. So that, some of them do use more technology than others. There are varying levels of technological use by them, but in general, they are known for the fact that they tend to prefer to ignore a lot of the modern, aspects of modern life, things like television and stuff like that. So the claim that they're healthier because they don't take vaccines is incorrect. In fact, most, as this article talks about, most Amish people do use vaccines. Only 14% of a survey group did not, which is only slightly higher than regular Americans anyway. Generally speaking, guys, and this really talks about here, the most likely reason why the Amish are healthier than Americans is some genetic aspects, but frankly, it's their lifestyle. The Amish are farmers, meaning that they spend all day doing physical labor. They don't smoke, they don't drink heavily, they don't do other recreational drugs, they don't do a number of high danger activities that other Americans do. So they tend to live longer and have healthier lives because they have a better lifestyle than ours. Simple as that. Alright. For World History Kids, here's an article for you guys. It's from last month, but I had it kept in kept in the back burner just in case I wanted to bring it up, and since there's only 2 of these left, that was a good time. So this is a really good article called How the Rich Reacted to the Bubonic Plague Has Eerie Similarities to Today's Pandemic. The bubonic plague was a 14th century one that famously killed anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of everybody in Europe. Tens of millions of people. It's one of the worst plagues in known human history. So this talks about how wealthy people reacted and all that. Excuse me. Most of this article is based on the Decameron, which is a witness testament. It's basically, here we go, Giovanni Boccaccio, which in my time is always a little fudgy here, essentially writes a bunch of novellas, eventually like these short little anecdotal stories that are based on both things he himself saw and stories told to him by other witnesses, other people who survived the plague like he did. And it gives us this incredibly detailed look at how every aspect of society dealt with it. And we also got to see how rich people dealt with it, and we get to kind of get this idea, or not this idea, but this great way of comparing how rich people are reacting now in terms of how they treat the poor, how they focus on themselves, how they shut themselves off, how they use their wealth to their own benefit, things like that. For Econ Kids, we have one from a couple days ago from 538. 538 is a very famous statistical website. So it's run by Nate Silver. And this one here, many Americans are getting more money for unemployment than they were from their jobs. So this is talking about how the CARES Act, which was the first stimulus act, and that increased things like unemployment benefits, has actually meant some people are earning more money. In fact, I actually know somebody who is making more money because of this. Now, some people are reading this as saying, oh, well, this is ridiculous, we're paying them not to work, generally conservative economists. But the other way to look at the data, because remember, guys, the data doesn't lie, but how you interpret it does. The other way to look at the data is that this tells you just how low minimum wage is. This tells you that in the United States, we pay the low-end laborers and workers so little money that an uptick in their income of just $600 is insane. Okay, so yeah, we have right here, the national average for unemployment payment was $370 per week, and the salary for national average salary for unemployment recipients was $970 per week. Okay, the additional $600 is supposed to make up the difference. Okay, so we get this, yeah, the country's significant income inequality means that more workers fall into low-wage categories. So again, you can read this as, oh no, we're paying people not to work, or you can read this as, wow, we really screw over the people who do all the necessary jobs to keep an economy functioning. So I suggest you guys read through the whole thing. There's a couple nice pretty pictures for you, and it gives you some background detail. Alright, so for the second to last of the how to entertain yourself during a pandemic, because this is almost certainly going to extend all the way through the summer, even if we are starting to open up, and I think California is now pretty much in phase 2, looking at phase 3 to open up. I'm going to give you guys, the others have been, so previously I've been giving you guys all these individual works. For these last two, I'm going to give you a general group. So for this one, this is the Discworld series. Okay, so we're going to start Discworld, and it goes through all this, and you've got, so as you can see, it's a big series. I think it's something like 37, oh, there you go, 41 novels. Sir Terry Pratchett was my very favorite author ever. Died a number of years back. And his 41 Discworld novels are some of the absolute funniest and most clever books you could ever read. So I always highly recommend him to everybody. They are fantasy books technically, so there's like elves and dwarves and stuff, but they're not actually fantasy books in that they're not about magic. They're about using a fantasy story to satirize and make fun of things in our own real world. So we have books, for instance, like Equal Rights, which is a witch's book, but, is really about what it sounds like, equal rights. My favorites are the Ankh-Morpork books, the Guards series. So we have ones like the first one, Guards, was mostly meant to parody old school films and books and games and stuff like that, where you just massacre the guards. So it's like, oh, what happens if you tell a story from the guard's perspective? Men at Arms really takes it up a notch, though, and now it starts to kind of make fun of the police procedural, and just every single one of these, and there are some various series and such, with series within the series. So there's the Witches books, the Rincewind books, the Guards books, the Death books, because yes, Death is a character. Yeah, there is Reaper Man when Death decides to take a vacation. So, absolutely fantastic books. I highly recommend all of them, and his website, the memorial website and all this, does give you an explanation of what order, how to read them, the different options on how you can read them. Alright guys, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow for the final one.